back live in the studios of WLCN Viewpoint 96.3. We have with us a guest from Mount Pulaski, Vinegar Hill, talking about their 175th anniversary celebration coming up July, very, very quickly, July 1st, 2nd, right through the 4th. Let's see.
What?
Yes.
Where is it?
Well, yes. What day is it?
It's the 22nd.
No, seriously. Phil wants to get back and talk a minute about the museum. And you had something, you're going to have some awards down there.
Yeah, I digressed with Casimir
Phil,
Pulaski.
you have to excuse Phil. He's a history teacher. And, you know, he was a math teacher, come think about it. But teacher syndrome, he just kind of runs off when he gets something in his mind and wants to talk about it. 648-5510 in case anybody has any questions or comments. This is going to be a real big thing over Mount Pulaski, folks. This should be not just a Mount Pulaski celebration. This should be county-wide and further. Go ahead, Phil. Tell us about what you wanted to mention about the awards down there.
Well, these Casimir Pulaski awards, they're 20-pound solid bronze busts. You can't hold them with one hand almost.
Well, yeah.
And so we're going to award them to 5 most distinguished graduates of Mount Pulaski High School. Some of them have become politicians, engineers, writers, authors. One just got a Fulbright scholarship in economics.
Oh, boy.
And doctors and so forth that, of course, no longer live in Mount Pulaski but have made their mark in the United States and in the world. And then we're going to award 5 to most distinguished citizens who have lived in Mount Pulaski for much of their life and have donated a lot of time and effort towards Mount Pulaski and so forth. And these names were nominated by people, not just on our committee. And then we have a
no, I made a nomination. Here, I don't even live in Pulaski.
That's right. And then a independent group of people from Springfield have selected the winners.
That's good. You have an independent committee to select these winners.
Right.
That's good. Well, that adds a lot of stature to this. This is going to be really and these are going to present down at the museum that night.
At 9 o'clock that night.
You know, that's almost past my bedtime. You're going to keep me up late.
But you're going to be there, aren't you, Bill?
Yes, absolutely we're going to be there. And there's some Lincoln people going. There are buses going over there. I don't know whether they still have room on buses or not.
Well, they had a few the other day. They're free bus rides, but you have to sign up because... No, we're not even charging $3 anymore. Maybe
right?
To you Lincoln people.
Well, I think Well, I think we should. You know,
we were going to, and then we decided not.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Well, you've just got a plethora of free things going on.
Yeah.
Among others, you have an awful lot of activities for the kids.
We do. We realized at the beginning that we couldn't get a carnival, and I, at the beginning, was always in favor of not having a carnival. So I was sort of smiling that we couldn't get a carnival. So then we decided to have this living history and children activities. And the children activities, you know, you have your face painting, your bounce houses, you know, you've got your snow cones and your balloons, balloon water fights and scavenger hunts. And we have a magician, Mitch Williams, is going to perform. And then we have Chris Valillo, who's a nationally known ballad and Civil War speaker and singer, is going to perform for the kids. And also for the adults. He's going to do 2 performances. And then we have this 176 keys dueling piano guys that are going to perform for him. Then we have this anyone who has talent up to age 18. We have that going.
Left you out, Judy.
And then we have, you know, that's...
Yes.
Yeah. So and then in addition to all that, we have this living history stuff.
That's what I'd really like to hear about. Tell me about that.
Well, Phyllis Beckwith has done a great job with this, and we've given her some names. A lot of us have helped her out. We go down to Arthur, we visit Arthur, and there's a blacksmith down there, and people doing quilting and all that. So we've come up with names and phone numbers and all that. And so she's, over the past year, gotten all that together. And of course, from her years of experience with the Mount Pulaski Christmas on Vinegar Hill, which she runs, she has put together about 20-25 living history demonstrations. And they go all the way from bow and arrow and gun, musket loading pre-Civil War guns, you know, Revolutionary War type guns. You can't call them rifles because they're not rifled, you know, they're just guns. And then we have hatchet throwing, tomahawk hatchet throwing. But then we've got rug quilting. We've got, we've got this one thing called felinology. I didn't even know what it was. Frillanology. It's determining one's ability by feeling the bumps on one's head.
Yes.
I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right. And then we got woodworking, TP living, handmade items, coppering, wooden bucket stuff. The frontier people were their own merchants, more or less. They made everything.
Yeah,
the only thing they bought was, you have to think. I mean, they made their leather, their flour, everything. Maybe the sugar they bought, you know, the cane sugar.
Yeah.
They didn't grow around here and so forth. But and the cocoa, the chocolate they bought, and of course the saddles. You know, and stuff like that. But so a lot of these, we've got a guy in town that makes stagecoaches, Don Leonard. And there's only a couple guys in the country that make stagecoaches. He makes real stagecoaches.
Full scale.
Yeah. And so he's going to be in the parade. He's got one stagecoach left. They sell for $22,500.
Oh, no wonder.
And he's made 22 of them over the last 22 years or 30 years he's been doing it. And so the Frontier Days, we're gonna emphasize to the kids and the adults how people lived in those days, and we're going to have demonstrations up on a courthouse lawn every day for 4 days.
I think that will be fascinating.
I'm looking forward to it.
And phrenology that you mentioned.
Right. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay.
That was an interesting thing to me. That was pretty widespread way back when.
A
lot of people went around feeling people's heads to see what was in there, I guess.
Or what was not there.
Or what was not there, what was missing.
I guess if you're a bald, you're at a disadvantage, maybe, huh?
I think so. That's, we all know about the Vonderleith, I don't want to say it, shelter care facility, not a nursing home.
It's a living
center.
Yeah.
What a beautiful place that is. What a neat, for those of us who may face that time, it's a marvelous thing to have something like that over there. It really is, yeah. And that is steeped in history. Let's just talk about Vonderleith, which then came down to Vonderleith Living Center.
Well, we had a little girl in town named Eleanor Vonderleith who became a child protege and became singing at the age of 3 and 4. And she continued that the rest of her life. But she started in Mount Pulaski, and they used to have an opera house on the top area of the Farmers Bank in the back area. It's now been torn down. But there used to be an opera house there. And of course, all Europeans were used to opera houses, right? So they had actually had a couple of them in Mount Pulaski. But this one was the most widespread in Logan County, I guess. And so she, at 4 and 5 years old, was singing up there. Well, her father, Mr. Vonderleith, passed away unexpectedly. So her mother took her to California because she knew of the experiences of music education out there. And she had relatives out there, I guess. So they went to California, and Eleanor learned how to sing better and went to schools and different tutoring and all that. And then she went from there to Chicago and then to New York and became the first lady of radio in the 20s and 30s. And the reason she became so popular, she learned to croon. And her melodic voice would not break the vacuum tubes of Dr. DeForest's radio station. And so he loved her because he wouldn't break his tubes.
And she took the stage name, so to speak, of Vonderleith. Is that correct?
Right. She changed it to Vonderleith. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, her uncle her uncle, Von der Leith, was engaged in windmill business and other businesses, and then he went, actually her father was in the windmill business and he died, but her uncle went to New York and became a newspaper executive and made his money, his fortune there, but always had his roots in Mount Pulaski because that's where he was born. Came back to Mount Pulaski and suggested that they would like to donate money to some worthwhile cause. So they came up with this nursing home over 30 years ago, and they established a board of trustees in Mount Pulaski to do it, and so they did. They built this, so it's got 60 beds, 60 rooms or so.
Very nice facility. It's interesting to have that history and that background, that the name was associated with this very, very famous radio singer back in the days, as you say, when they had the glass vacuum tubes.
Right, and evidently she taught Bing Crosby how to croon.
And I understood at one point that when Atlas Egg in Lincoln established WBBM out here on Park Place where Jim lives, that she sang then on WBBM here in Lincoln.
She was in Chicago area at first. And, of course, people in Pulaski kept in touch with her all these years. They had records and labels, and they corresponded with her sister after she died. And she was only about 45 years old when she died.
Oh, my.
In 1942. And one of the last things she did, she came to Mount Pulaski and visited our courthouse. And Harry Weibel, the publisher, took pictures of her up in the courthouse.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Harry Weibel was a unique individual.
He surely
I
was.
had the greatest respect for him. Then Thomas' grandfather, Harry Martin Sr., those two were real movers and shakers over there.
That's right.
And I did a little business over in Pulaski at one point in time when I was in the dry cleaning business. We had a store over there. And Harry was a great supporter of ours. But I'd known him. I had the pleasure, the advantage of knowing those folks through my parents when I was still a kid.
Right.
So they're steeped in, pretty much steeped in Pulaski history over there.
Yeah, and Harry was from out of town. He came to. He used to work for the Courier here in Lincoln.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But he was from another town up by the Illinois River.
Now, go ahead, Judy. You start to say something.
Well,
please.
this calendar that you put together, I know that 2011 is half gone. But are there any more left that people could avail themselves of?
Yes,
they're collector's items, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
They're historical.
Yeah.
Because Mount Pulaski is not just famous for Abraham Lincoln, but for music. We just talked about Von der Leith and all the other things that have taken place in Mount Pulaski. We had Wilbur Wright was in Mount Pulaski. And we say Wilbur was in Pulaski about 30 seconds because he was on the Illinois Central train. It was a race from Washington Park in Chicago to the Illinois State Fairgrounds. In 1910, a Chicago newspaper put up $10,000 for an airplane to race the Illinois Central train. Well, Wilbur Wright's biplane was, of course, the plane. But Wilbur had been injured in an airplane accident a few months before, so he had Walter Brookins pilot the airplane. Well, the airplane landed in Pulaski, where the Mount Pulaski American Legion Hall is.
Okay.
That was a sort of a farm area at that point. It's on the south side of the railroad tracks, and needed gas and water. And the train comes through, and I guess they were waving at the airplane, and they kind of thought, well, they were going to win the race, but the airplane took off and won the race and the $10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000.
That was big
which was heavy money.
That's a lot of money, though.
Heavy money.
You bet.
You have, starting here, let's get these folks wound up and be interested in getting their calendar set. The 30th, of course, is the big reception down there at the Presidential Library.
Right.
Then kick this thing off on Friday. They're going to have a golf tourney that
over here at the Elks Club.
Now, are those foursomes all filled out? Do you know, Phil?
No, there's still room for more foursomes.
And what would it take if somebody wanted to get a foursome together? Do you know offhand?
You just call Darren Powell in Mount Pulaski.
Sure.
He works for State Farm. He owns the franchise
Agency
over there. Or Jeff Clements at the Pat Chris Kapansky, Clements, May, insurance company.
And what would be the entry fee for a foursome? Do you know?
I don't even know.
Well, that's not important right now. But then you have, you're going on Friday, you have a huge selection here of things to do on Friday all day long for adults as well as kids. Moving right into Saturday, you have the same thing. You have a pancake breakfast starting out with the First Christian Church over there. That ought to be a good way to start today.
Yeah, and all these dinners and breakfasts are in these air-conditioned tents. I got to tell you about
this. That's the thing,
this.
yes. Go ahead, talk about those because we may have some July weather.
Yes, right. And we told Tom we need air-conditioned tents. So he said, yeah, I agree. So we got two big, huge tents. One of them is 100 by 80 feet. That's going to be on the east side of Mount Pulaski Square, and then the other one is a little bit smaller. It's going to be on the south side where we always have our food tent. But this year we're having two food tents, and the big one on the east side is going to be for the reunions, the Mount Pulaski High School reunions. So we're going to have the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s together, and then that's Friday night, and in the 70s and 80s is Saturday night, and then the rest of the 90s on up to 2011 is going to be Sunday night. And right between the two tents is, we call it Lafayette Square. We have a big sound stage. It's being trucked in from Florida.
Oh my
and
God.
It's going to have all the major music performances there. And so then we're going to have a beer truck. We're going to have the American Legion's going to run a beer. And then we're going to have the wineries are going to be there. And then up on the lawn we have this bandstand. That's where the Bluegrass is going to be playing. But they stop playing at 5 o'clock, and then the Lafayette stage takes over at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my gosh, you've got days and days of wonderful entertainment down there.
4 days.
There was no small amount of planning. I mean, we're thinking out of the box a lot of this stuff here, like bringing in your sound and your big tents and your air conditioning tents. By the way, politically correct, you're going to have a tent for the teetotalers?
Yes, we're going to have, I don't know, actually we do. We'll have, for the youth tent, of course, but actually the answer is no on that. You know what?
I sandbagged you on that one, Phil.
The general food tent will not be serving.
You were supposed to be looking at that curveball.
Yeah, the general food tent on the south side will not be serving liquor.
Yeah.
And that's where the churches are going to be serving their dinners, so there's no liquor in that tent.
Right. No, well, liquor's not going to be a big item.
Or the children's tent in a perfect world, right?
Right.
Well, that's not going to be a big item for them, in the whole thing. I just had to kind of put that little aside.
You caught me off guard on that.
I threw you a curveball.
One other hero that you have from Mount Pulaski is Jabez Capps.
Right.
Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of Jabez Capps?
He came.
Remembering we have to be off the air soon.
Yeah, he came from London. He was from a merchant family. His father and then his son took over the business, so he realized he wasn't going to be able to be in the business. So he went to America to get his own, seek his own way. Well, it turned out 9 of his brothers and sisters came with him eventually, even his mother after the father passed away. But his youngest brother stayed in England, London, England, and ran the clothing business. They called them clothiers in those days, tailors. And they made clothes for the royalty and for the government officials in Westminster. That's where they were located, the shop. But anyway, he came to America, ended up in Springfield. He owned land that the present Oak Ridge Cemetery is. He also, the old Capitol grounds, he owned some land there. He knew Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer for him in a couple of cases. He had a vision of founding a place like Mount Pulaski on a hill that didn't get muddy. You know, he couldn't wait fast enough to get out of Springfield. It used to be a muddy, mosquito, bog-ridden place because it's low, Springfield. And so he and Dr. Barton Robinson, who was also from London, learned his medical degree in London. And then this George Washington Turley, who was from the Lake Fork area, those guys got together and they founded Mount Pulaski. And so Jabez became the merchant He's the one that had a big trading post in Pulaski and did business for miles around. He used to go to Pekin on the Illinois River and get his goods and truck them or wag them back, horse wagon back to Pulaski. And then, of course, Turley had the land, and Barton had he was the doctor, and of course he was highly educated, so he was the guy that went to the land grant office in Sangamon County to get the land grant in 1836. And of course, Logan County didn't exist in 1836. It was Sangamon County in that point, and it didn't become Logan County until 1839.
You know, our friend Jim Hickey be proud of Phil.
Yes.
Jim was such an historian, particularly as far as Lincolnia is concerned.
And his wife, Betty Hickey, is our right hand.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
when she gets into something,
she's really being
yes, oh, yeah.
She's so lovely.
And she's having a style show, too.
Oh, good. That'll be fun.
On a style show.
On the stage that's between the air conditioning tents?
Yeah, it's going to be on the bandstand stage. If it's too hot, they're going to be in the air-conditioned tent. By the way, we have Logan County Day is going to be Saturday. The parade day is going to be 10 o'clock parade. And we're going to have the founders' descendants in that parade. The stagecoach is going to be in it. We've got about 35 entries. And we've got, and of course, if it rains, we're going to postpone the parade, but we're still going to have it. And then if it rains, we've got air-conditioned tents. We got buildings we can go into. The only thing that might be rained out is some of the living history stuff. But we got tents for the kids. Youth sit tent on the north side. We've got tents all around the square, and it's going to have a tornado come in to ruin things. But we, God willing, won't have a bad tornado or storm. But we've got some contingency plans.
Well, I want to tell you, this is going to be an exciting time for you over there. You've all worked very, very hard on this, and this, as I say, is not just a Mount Pulaski event. This is for Logan County, and we would urge all out there.
That's right.
You've got 4 days to get over there and see what's going on.
Right.
And it's going to be a great way to occupy some of your time.
And we've got shuttle service and bus rides up to the square, because you won't be able to park near it.
Oh, I'm sure.
No, that's exactly right. And you're going to have people to direct them to the parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Phil, you know, you can tell Judith that Phil is a former educator. I would have thought he'd been a history teacher rather than a math teacher, rather than computer science teacher.
Well, weren't you once?
I started out as a history teacher, but I had to teach 3 math classes my first year because they needed somebody. Math was one of my favorite subjects in high school, but I didn't want to read math on the weekends. History, I fell in love with history, and that's what I majored in. But then I found out the coaches were doing all the teaching in history, so I had to, and so then I went into math. I had to go back to school and get my math degrees, and of course the National Science Foundation helped me out on that. So I actually taught history. My first year, only 2 classes, and the rest of the 37 years, including the first year, my 38th year, I taught math.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and I know the community is glad to have you and your uncle back, Waldo and Phil and their family, to come back to their roots in Logan County, and it's great to have them back. Closing comment, I always try to make something about the day. You're a teacher, and as the saying goes, you know, you've heard it before, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Thank you for Viewpoint.